Have you been finding yourself easily emotionally triggered, consistently anxious, and even self sabotaging in your business or personal relationships? Well, if so, then inside of this video, I will be going over the three main steps to build control over your emotions, master healthy relationships, and finally be able to confidently walk in your light. And I'm going to show you how to do it without feeling guilty for taking time to yourself, taking away too much time away from your family, or reading a bunch of self help books. And we're going to do this by activating your feminine emotional intelligence. My name is Coach Kamisha Sade, and for the past 5 years, I've helped hundreds of women heal their mind, body, and soul so that way they can establish healthy business and personal relationships, get what they want from their romantic partnerships, and confidently walk in their light. So before we move forward, I want to be respectful of your time and let you know exactly who this class is for and who it is not for. Now, this is going to be for you if you're a Black woman who values the relationships in your life, but at the same time are self sabotaging the quality of those relationships. And deep down inside, you know it's time to make a change. Now, this is not going to be for you if you're looking for a quick fix or maybe another cool way to cut more people off. You're not really looking to make a real change in your mindset, and you don't value investing your time and energy to really making a change within yourself. So let's jump right into it. So these three steps are going to show you how to put an end to the self-sabotaging, the emotional triggers, and elevate your relationships with self and other people so that way you can confidently get what you want out of life by activating your feminine emotional intelligence. See, when you activate this, you'll be able to know how to confidently regulate your emotions, have a life of high value relationships, and practically get anything that you want in business and romance. So let's start with step number one. Have you ever tried to make some changes with yourself? And maybe you decided to start meditating or doing affirmations or maybe even going to therapy, but you just find yourself a little bit more aware of your triggers, but not really understanding how to master yourself and get rid of them. If so, that's okay, because this is naturally some of the things that we see as solutions. But the reason why you end up in the same place and mindset is because you think, or maybe you've been told, that you only have this singular or one relationship with yourself. But the truth is, you have multiple relationships with yourself. And the first step to activating your feminine emotional intelligence is to learn multi self awareness. This is where you actually go in and learn about the different levels of the relationships that you have with yourself. This ranges from your relationship with your self esteem, which ties into your confidence, all the way to the relationship with your womb, which is responsible for your level of intuition and discernment. Listen, you are an intelligent, complex being. And so you need to have a more intelligent understanding of yourself because you can only change what you are aware of. Now, if you skip this step, you would end up doing things like high end, aesthetic self care days or therapy, but then you'll find that you still have problems with your confidence. You still are triggered and you're unable to properly speak up for yourself. So there needs to be an awareness of the multiple relationships that you have with yourself. So let's move on to the next step. Are you trying to break generational curses, set boundaries with family members, yet you consistently feel like you have to choose between letting things slide or cutting everybody off? See, this is the common challenge when we try to regulate the relationships inside of our lives, or it will continue to feel like you have to choose between one or the other because you have not done what I call lineage restoration. See, the relationships with your maternal lineage plays a huge part in ridding yourself of triggers, establishing boundaries, and really breaking generational curses. This is why step number two in activating your feminine emotional intelligence is lineage restoration. This is where you restore your maternal relationships backward and forward so you can understand and have more compassion to be aware of the root cause of these dysfunctions and triggers, properly navigate through your family dynamic and relationships, because now you'll have more depth of what these curses are and where they come from, so that way you can actually discontinue them. So for an example, I once had a client who had a really rocky relationship with her mother, and she would get emotionally triggered by her mother So what she found was that her maternal lineage had a dysfunctional relationship with communication and also addiction with alcohol. So this alcohol abuse led to everything from family fistfights down to fibroid issues from all of the suppressed trauma, and even a trend of emotional manipulation and abuse. So down from her mom's mom to her mom's mom to her mom's mom to the great 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 grandmother. So she spent half of her life arguing up and down with her mom, trying to get her to see why her habits made my client just want to cut her off for the rest of her life. Nothing would work. She would cry to her and really just keep her distance and just pray for her to change one day. But she truly wanted a healthy relationship with her mother. And not only that, that lack of a healthy relationship with her mother was creating the triggers in her everyday life. And it wasn't until she went through lineage restoration that she found that her mother's anger, emotional abuse, and lack of emotional availability wasn't actually about her. It came from suppressed heartache, resentment, and a handful of dysfunction that she uncovered in the strategy. Becoming aware of this allowed my client to drop the feeling of, whoa, it's me, and grasp a hold to controlling her emotions and having compassion, empathy, and understanding so she can manage a healthy relationship with her mother. So that way she can heal the internal dysfunction that was passed down to her and create new mindsets and habits moving forward. Now she has a healthy communication with her mother. She's also no longer emotionally triggered by her actions because she actually understands her mother. She also lives a sober lifestyle, which allows her to be 100% present and have emotional availability in all of her relationships. So I know that was a lot, but it's very important to understand it's part of the process. So now let's get into our final step. In this final step of activating your feminine emotional intelligence, you will cultivate security, communication, and connection in your personal, professional, and romantic relationships through social management. So, in the social management process, here's where you will learn to navigate and refine your relationships through high level communication and not cutting people off, but properly removing low yielding relationships. Now, this is important because if you begin to heal yourself and rid yourself of these emotional triggers, but don't learn to properly manage external relationships, you'll find yourself battling that feeling of guilt when stepping into the feminine, emotionally intelligent version of yourself. And this will be because the people in your life will still expect the unevolved version of you. So, for an example, one of my clients inside of my program started healing and learning more about herself, but she also had a very small circle of friends. But most people, especially on social media, would say, oh, that's a great thing. But these friends had a lot of access to her, and they were very unaligned with the version of herself that she was looking to become. So when she realized these friends were no longer compatible with her and negatively impacting her energy, mindset, and vibe, she had to now use social management to bring each one of her friends through a qualification process and discuss her boundaries head on and confidently. She was completely fine with removing some of these friends out of her social circle because she was able to properly detach from experiences using her emotional intelligence. Now, this did more for her than just removing an unaligned person out of her circle. This actually led to a higher value social circle and professional life. She no longer felt like she had to get hyper aggressive or feel guilty for setting boundaries. So I know we went through a lot. So let's take a deep breath. In this video, you learned the 3 steps to activate your feminine emotional intelligence. Step number 1 was multi self awareness, where you are now becoming more aware of the multiple versions of yourself. Step 2 was lineage restoration, where you restored your maternal relationship backward and forward. And step number 3 was social relationship management, where you learned how to cultivate security, communication, and connection in your personal, romantic, and professional relationships. And so now that you have the information, do you see the possibility of change? Do you see how you can finally put an end to the triggers, the self-sabotage, the being taken advantage of, and how you can finally cultivate those healthy relationships, have the emotional control, and confidently step into your feminine emotional intelligence? Well, if so, here's what to do next. You essentially have two choices. You can go ahead on and take what I gave you and get to work on yourself and do the work on activating your feminine emotional intelligence, which is definitely a solution if you love to do things all by yourself. Or you can actually save time and energy by getting the proper guidance, support, and accountability to actually see this through and fully activate your feminine emotional intelligence. And so, if that sounds like you, here's what to do next. Click the link below and book a call. Inside of this call, we'll take a look at where you're at in your journey of activating your feminine emotional intelligence and also personalize you a plan. And if it aligns, you will also be offered the opportunity to work with us and finally make this change for good in the Feminine Emotional Intelligence Mastery Program. Now, if you decide to move forward with us, it will not be free and will require your commitment. But if you're really looking to stop thinking about it and waiting until you get emotionally triggered to remind yourself that it's time to put this to an end and actually step in to the feminine, emotionally intelligent version of yourself, where you raise the standard of treatment from others and yourself, where you feel seen and heard, where you have wisdom, discernment, and intuition, quality of romance, and you can confidently walk in your light, then I will encourage you to believe in yourself and take the next step by booking a call below. So click the button, answer a couple of the quick questions, and we'll talk soon, goddess.